Hello, world.
And we're locked in. Myself, Max Van Auken, Dave the Wave joining me via locked in satellite radio. How do you feel?
From I feel good, man. I'm in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, God's country. It's beautiful out here.
Wow, getting deep on me
Yeah,
now.
absolutely.
But anyway, so Derrick Rose scores 50 points, Dave. We have Jimmy Butler holding out. I think he's supposed to play against the Golden State Warriors, but he's saying he may miss a couple games because his body's banged up. But
Sure.
we all know what it is. I think he's holding out because he doesn't want to play for Minnesota anymore.
Hmm. How do you? Who wants to play for Minnesota?
That's a good one. But let's
I
dive
know.
into it. Like, what does this mean for Jimmy Butler? What does this mean for Tom Thibodeau and the franchise of the Timberwolves? Does Derrick Rose make a comeback? He wants sixth man of the year. What do you make of the whole situation there in Minnesota?
Awesome. Very good. First of all, you mentioned him, and I'm happy you did. Coach Thibodeau. I think he's been an absolute bust so far for Minnesota. He had a really good run in Chicago. That's when the Derrick Rose MVP years. They had Taj Gibson. Noah was great defender. He was almost an MVP. Jimmy Butler was on the team, young. And then they couldn't beat a guy. I think his name was LeBron James. They couldn't beat them in the Eastern Conference playoffs. But other than that, he had a really good run over there in Chicago. But he got fired. He got let go. He's out. And Minnesota hired him and gave him a lot of responsibility and gave him a lot of money. And next thing you know, you think they're going to change into a defensive team. They drafted Wiggins. They had Karl Anthony Towns. Wiggins was one of the best young defensive players, but everyone's taking a step back. Seems like Karl Anthony Towns is not taking that step to that Anthony Davis level. Seems like Andrew Wiggins isn't taking that next step to like the Kawhi Leonard or Paul George level. They've taken steps back. Then they made the big trade for Jimmy Butler, which anytime you get the best player in the trade, Cuzzo, I've told you this. I told you once. I told you 1,000 times. You always do it. And this, I feel like Jimmy Butler's taking a step back. They're not gelling. That's the coach's job, is to get your superstars to play on the same wavelength, like the great Golden State Warriors, 4 MVP candidates, 4 Hall of Famers, 5 All-Stars, and they win. They pass, they have fun, they're smiling, they play together. And Minnesota is the exact opposite. So before I talk about Jimmy Butler, that's just my take on Coach Thibodeau. I want to know if you think I'm locked in or you think I'm crazy.
You're not crazy. I think you're locked in. I think Tom Thibodeau is an overrated coach.
Yes.
I think 100%. You see what he did in Chicago, like you said. I understand maybe not getting over the hump of King James. He owned the East. But it's an offensive-minded league now, Dave. We've seen it in probably the last 6 years. It's all about threes, and he hasn't evolved to that. He still thinks it's about defense and playing high minutes, and like you hit on the money, the Golden State Warriors are all about passing and hitting threes now. I understand they have an all-star team, but the Timberwolves have a good roster. You have Jimmy Butler, Karl Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins, Derrick Rose playing pretty good. You have Taj Gibson. They even had Jamal Crawford last year. They have
Jeff
the right
Teague.
pieces.
They have Jeff Teague.
Yeah, they have the good pieces. I don't expect them to
Yes.
beat the Warriors, but they're not showing any type of momentum going forward, any type of progression, and I don't think he's evolved as a head coach, and it looks like it's the Chicago Bulls in Minnesota right now, and it's the same exact thing. The locker room is iffy. Obviously, Jimmy wants out. I'm not a fan of Tom Thibodeau. Of course, I don't want anyone to get fired or have a bad career. I don't wish bad upon anybody, but facts are facts, and I don't think he's a good coach, especially in Minnesota, so keep on going.
No, absolutely. They had this team. They had Jimmy Butler last year. They were the 8th seed. And they got that 8th seed by the last game of the season. Remember, they played Denver in an overtime game at home. If that game was in Denver, hey, they maybe missed the playoffs. And now with the Lakers not making the playoffs last year, we all think they're going to make it this year with LeBron and all those young pieces. So that's another team pushed out of the postseason. So Minnesota, I don't have them as a playoff team. So if you got the 8th seed and now not going to make the playoffs, I think it's time to move on. And they're playing to me a tricky game of chess with Jimmy Butler. When more time passes, more power goes to the player who is going to be a pending free agent who didn't re-sign there in Minnesota. They offered him the mega max deal. He said, no, thank you. He's going to walk. Minnesota, get what you can get. Sometimes in life you can't get the best thing. Always move on, get what you can get. And let's just talk about the one that's out there, the one that's been in the media, the Houston Rockets. first round picks. I think the deal it's Eric Gordon, and it's one other player. They want PJ Tucker. Houston doesn't want to trade him. So it's like Eric Gordon, maybe like a Jeff Enos, maybe a Michael Carter-Williams, and those 4 first-round picks. If Houston offered it, take the deal. Gordon's a good player. Maybe Gordon gels with Karl-Anthony Towns and Wiggins more. Sometimes it's more with less. And I think you can go forward. Lastly, on these first 4 picks, Max, thank you for giving me the floor on this. I just want to break this down real quick. 8 years ago, Boston made a trade with the Brooklyn Nets, and they traded Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett, 2 All-Stars, 2 Hall of Famers, 2 all-time greats for multiple first-round picks, unprotected first-round picks. What you need to do, you don't get the picks now. Houston's going to be really good, or you think they are. They're actually 1-5 right now, but we'll probably jump on that soon too. You don't get the picks now. You get the picks in the future. Wait 4 years, 6 years, 8 years after Harden is probably towards the end of his run. Chris Paul would be retired. Jimmy Butler might not even be on the team. That's when Houston might be done. Daryl Morey's a GM in another team. And that's when you get all these first and third and fifth and eighth overall picks. The Celtics are still getting picks. They got Jason Tatum last year for absolutely free. So this is how you create a dynasty, get picks Minnesota, because what happened if Minnesota, Karl-Anthony Towns and Wiggins, they're really great. They're 8 years in their career, and then you get a free first overall pick. That's when Minnesota can take that next level, take the deal, trade Jimmy Butler, and move on.
Bravo. To add to that, I would say what Minnesota should do is I'm in agreement with you. They should take what Houston's providing, and like you hit right on the money again, you're locked in with the Celtics because they are able to acquire all these picks on top of the roster they already have, and that adds that depth for a roster. But what I'm afraid Minnesota's going to do is they're just asking for too much. When they even talked to the Philadelphia 76ers, they wanted Ben Simmons. I keep hearing a couple people talk about it, and there's reports. They just want too much, Dave. It's like they're going to talk to Houston and say, we want James Harden. It's like they won't just accept the first 4 picks, which they should because, like you just said, you need depth, especially having somebody that's a cancer to the locker room. I'm a fan of Jimmy Butler, but what he's doing affects the locker room, and it's obviously not gelling well. It's doing more harm than good by keeping him. So I agree with you. They should get the picks, work on your future. But the first move, in my opinion, after getting Jimmy Butler out of there, is firing Tom Thibodeau. And I know it's early in the season. I know it's like you usually don't want to do it during the season, especially young in the season when you may have playoff aspirations. But if you want this team to move forward, you have to move on from what's going on now, and that's Tom Thibodeau. Get your front office, get your head coaching right. Then when you have those young pieces, they develop with the coach. And I think that's what they should do, but will they do it? I'm not too sure.
Wow, I love it. I love it. There's 2 things I'm going to take it. One, I'm going to close on Minnesota, and then I want to transition this to something else because you said a buzzword here in the industry. For on with Minnesota, if you trade Jimmy Butler and you have a meeting with Andrew Wiggins and Karl-Anthony Towns, and you sit down with them and say, hey, guys, Butler's a great player. He's an all-star. He's really good. You guys aren't gelling with him. We believe in you two. You guys are the future. Let's get younger. Let's get draft picks. Let's get a good piece like Eric Gordon to help you guys, to assist you guys grow together and have a great meeting and say, I believe in you two. Give them the power. I think it would be really great sometimes, positivity, and you just help young players and they take that next step. You never know when it's going to happen. I think Minnesota's got to put all their eggs in the Andrew Wiggins and Karl-Anthony Towns bucket. That's one. The second one, I'm going to transition. You said the word firing, and I know this was going to be a basketball Jimmy Butler. We'll keep going forever, podcast for 2 hours. The Cleveland Browns fired Hugh Jackson and Todd Haley, offensive coordinator and head coach. Baker Mayfield, young rookie quarterback. Cuzzo, I need your take on it. I need what you think. Was that a good move, horrible move, somewhere in the middle? What do you think of the firing of the Cleveland Browns coach and offensive coordinator?
That's what I love about the Locked In Sports podcast. We can go anywhere. We talk about Marvel movies. We're talking about Cleveland. Honestly, Dave, I think it's a bad move. Not necessarily because I'm a fan of Hugh Jackson, but like you just said, the young quarterback that you have, Baker Mayfield, you went from no wins last season. I believe they already have 2 wins this year. So you're already doing better. You're showing signs of progression. Yeah, and a tie with Pittsburgh. So not only are you showing signs of progression, nobody thought you guys are going to win a Super Bowl this year. So what I think they should have done is they should have kept the coaching staff the way it is this year, allow Baker to just develop in this. This is his first NFL season. Now by firing him and Todd Haley, he has a new head coach come in, and he has to learn the way that head coach wants. And for a rookie quarterback, trying to learn the ropes of the league, that's just a lot to handle. But this is what Baker should have expected when getting drafted by the Cleveland Browns. So does it surprise me? No, but I don't think this was the right move. If you want to get a new coach, okay, I understand. If there's a better option out there, a young, offensive-minded coach, I'm all for it. But I don't think you do it in the middle of the season with a rookie quarterback. You should look, maybe at the end of the season, try to acquire a nice head coach, an offensive-minded coach, but not during the regular season. Dave, are you in agreement with me?
I agree and disagree. You ready?
Okay.
I agree that you shouldn't try to fire coaches in the middle of the season with a rookie quarterback. You want to help, you want to nurture, you want to assist a young kid, a quarterback, Baker Mayfield. But I disagree with not firing. Maybe I would have fired one and kept the other one.
Yeah.
Because you're almost saying, hey, I don't know which one's the problem. Like, both kids are talking in the back of the car. Both you kids are grounded. No, get the kid that's been mean first. Get the kid that's talking louder. Get the kid that started it. Ground him, and the other kid will know, hey, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not getting punished. Teach the other kid a lesson. Keep some of the coaching staff in there. I think Todd Haley, I would have kept him. He's been a good offensive coordinator. He's helped Ben Roethlisberger have some of his best years of his career. He's helped Kurt Warner in Arizona, Carson Palmer in Arizona. I think you keep Todd Haley and fire the bad ones and move forward. I just think cleaning house, it's almost saying we don't know what's wrong. Like, you're kind of putting your hands up. I don't know what's going on, so we're getting rid of everyone. I think it's a weak excuse. It's a weak way to run a business. Find the problem, get rid of that, and move on.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. That does make sense because, okay, well, first of all, Hard Knocks did not serve them any justice.
Amen.
But, no, I think keeping Haley would be smart because Baker would still be familiar with the way he coaches. And like you said, offensive-minded. And it's a good analogy you made because I feel like it's a lazy way of cleaning up a problem. You didn't do your research. You didn't dive in depth on what the root of the issue is. So instead you just took the easy way out. Okay, I'll fire both of you because I'm at least going to be right at one point. I have a 50-50 shot. So, but that's what Cleveland is. That's what doesn't surprise me. They're a unstable, dysfunctional franchise, whether people like it or not. It's the truth. I'm sorry, Cleveland fan base. And the same thing is what's going on with basketball, Dave. I'll shift gears one more time to the NBA. Look at Ty Lue. 6 games in, I understand LeBron left, but they already fired their head coach. It's something about Cleveland. They just need to look at their front office because this Cleveland Browns roster is not a bad roster. It's a legitimate roster. Baker Mayfield, we're Sam Darnold guys, but he's accurate, legitimate starting quarterback in the NFL. So they just need to fix their front office and coaching problems, and before you know it, everything else will develop and fall right into place.
Yeah, no, great point with Ty Lue. I 100% agree. I'm going to bring something out of left field that no one's really mentioned about the whole Ty Lue thing, or at least I haven't heard it, and tell me if you think I'm onto something or if you heard this. What do you think of Ty Lue going to management saying, hey, I thought we would be decent. I thought I could maybe help some of these young players and coach this team up a little bit. Nope, it's not working. We're 0-6. We're going to be the worst team in the league. I locked in 2 episodes ago. They're going for the first overall pick. What do you think of Ty Lue going into management saying, hey, let me go. I want to be a TV analyst or I want to get a job next season and let me get out of Cleveland. I don't want to put 70 losses, 65 losses on my record and let me move on from this team. Do you think he could have went to Dan Gilbert and even asked to be released?
I don't think he did, but I do think Ty Lue's a smart man and he understands his resources and his options. And a man with options is a powerful man. And I think he will get into TV. He will get into any other type of job that will help him. And what's interesting about this situation, Ty Lue's not looked at as almost a bad coach right now in retrospect. Like, he was with LeBron. He was questioned as a coach. But now that LeBron left, nobody expected him to win. He had no expectations. Maybe make the playoffs, maybe. So now that LeBron left, I think he's seen as a good guy, and this will almost help him find a coaching job in the future. I don't think he may get it right away, but in the future they'll say, yeah, he coached for the dysfunctional Cleveland Cavaliers. When LeBron was there, they at least went to the finals and he won a championship with LeBron. So I think this is actually, believe it or not, it may sound crazy, Dave. I promise you, I think this is actually a good look for Ty Lue.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, Cuzzo. Yeah, we're in the NBA. I want to throw out a couple things at you, then you pick one you like and you run with it. 2 episodes ago, you asked me if Steph Curry can be the MVP of this league. Yes, he can. He's playing maybe like the MVP of this league. He's amazing. Golden State with the best record in the NBA. Steph Curry, an MVP candidate. Number 2, De'Aaron Fox from Kentucky had a bad, weak rookie year. This year for Sacramento, leading the team in points, 17 points, around a 7 assists with a 6-3 record as a Western Conference playoff team. You know that's hard, Cuzzo. And lastly, who is the NBA Rookie of the Year so far? Cuzzo, take it away.
Wow, that was my debate of the day. Like the Facebook page, Locked In Podcast. Like the page, join the community. That was my debate of the day, Rookie of the Year so far. But, okay, I'll hit on the first point, Stephen Curry. Is he an MVP candidate? If I were to tell you the best shooter in the league, arguably the best handler in the league, first ever unanimous MVP, going on his 4th championship, and both you and I believe he's the second best player in the league, is he an MVP candidate? I would say yes, 100%. He's absolutely considered as an MVP. But what's going to happen, Dave, no matter how well he plays, the NBA fan base does not like the Golden State Warriors. They have 5 All-Stars on one team. They're going to say, if you take Steph Curry away, you still have 4 All-Stars. So how can you be the most valuable when there's 4 other All-Stars on a team? So someone like Giannis on the Bucks, who's carrying the team, someone like Anthony Davis on the Pelicans without DeMarcus Cousins, someone like LeBron, who's bringing this Lakers team to the playoffs, will be ahead of Steph Curry no matter how well he is playing. Whether it's fair or not, I believe he's an MVP candidate, but I don't think he'll get it because of the stacked roster he has around him. What is your take on that?
I disagree.
Really?
I really do. I think he's got a really good shot of winning it. For one, the media loves him.
True.
I really think they like him. He looks like just like you and I. He's 6'2". He's just a normal guy. He doesn't look iconic. He doesn't look like a superhero like Mr. LeBron James or Giannis. So for one, I think they like him. 2, I think they're going for 70, 75 wins. I really do. If no injuries happen, I think they will win multiple, huge winning streaks, flashy. They're in the West Coast. I see a lot of wins coming from Golden State. And 3, my last take on it is, I don't know who else would win it. I don't think LeBron, I thought he had a really good chance going in. And I don't want to get into it with you because it's our disagreement of the year maybe. I just don't think I don't think they're going to win enough games for him to merit an MVP trophy. I think they're around 40 to 45 games this year, not in that 50, 52. So I don't see him as an MVP guy. So I think Steph Curry, I think he has a legit shot of being the MVP of the NBA season.
I mean, if they win 75 games, he's the leading scorer, then yes, they do. But just real quickly on the LeBron, because I know we can go hours on this, let's not talk about the team around him, but let's just talk about this team didn't make the playoffs last year. So if they make the playoffs this year and all they did, well, I mean, they added Rondo. They made some acquisitions, Lance Stevenson, JaVale McGee, but obviously LeBron James being the centerpiece of it all. I still think he's in the MVP consideration. I know it's kind of off to a rough start, 3-5, but who knows? It's a game. This NBA season is a season of runs and streaks, whether you're on a losing streak or a win streak. So I wouldn't cancel out LeBron James just yet. But legitimate point. If the Golden State Warriors win 75 games, how could you not give it to the leading scorer of that team? But another point you did make, which is an interesting one, De'Aaron Fox. It's a good point. He is going under the radar now. I don't know if it's because he plays for Sacramento, but he was a high-valued rookie. And he, like you said, he had a disappointing rookie season, but he's putting people on notice. They kind of have a good nucleus over there, Dave. I mean, him, Buddy Hield. Do you see this franchise turning around in the near future, or is it just a young point guard on an unstable franchise?
No, I really think he's going to turn it around. We talked about this last year. We thought they were going to be a high-buzz team last year, and they didn't have it. I think they were too young. They had too many young ones. Another one's Willie Cauley-Stein. Yep. I'm loving his game right now. He's a perfect big for this day of age. He can switch on any picks. He can defend the 2 all the way up to the 5. A really good role player. Nice piece. Vlade Divac is changing things there in Sacramento. They have a great young nucleus, kind of like the Lakers did, but they're without a veteran leadership, high-scoring guy. But Fox might be the missing link. And the Kings, they're not going to make the playoffs, guys, but they're winning more than last year, and that's what you want, just to see improvement and take another step next year, and then maybe a possible free agent can land in Sacramento. So I see good things happening for the Kings.
What was your third point? You said Steph MVP, De'Aaron Fox. What was the third one?
Wow. What was it?
I'm trying to remember because I loved it, but I just went in depth with those two. I completely forgot about your third point. Should have started off with it.
Oh, man, I'm the one that said it, and I still don't remember.
Well,
it's so
you take some time to remember
it.
You take some time to remember it. I'll say Magna Loops, guys. Magna Loops. Let that sink in. One last time, Magna Loops. Check it out. They're on website. They are a young company and a young growing company that you guys need to hop on the bandwagon with. It's so simple, but yet it's so efficient and so useful. Whether it's Dorito bags, whether it's cables and wires, and God knows, Dave, we use cables and wires for the podcast, to wrap it up simple, neatly, organized, and it's efficient and quick. Magna Loops. Check it out, guys. What's the website, Dave?
Magnaloops.com. MAGNA Loops. LOOPS. Magnaloops.com.
There you go. Couldn't have said it any better myself. Dave the Wave. We'll get back to that point, I'm sure. We'll be talking about something else and be like, oh, hey, yeah, guys, this was my point. But in the meantime, is anything else sticking to you out on this NBA season? Anything?
And you know me, Cuzzo, I like to laugh. I think I'm the most positive person in the world. And I want to talk about how the Raptors winning and the Bucks are winning. Celtics are turning it around. They're in second, third place in the East. But there's a big glaring team that's 1-5. They had the best record in the NBA last year. They are struggling big time, and that is the Houston Rockets.
Yes.
It's just glaring. I heard the stat. Nick Wright, Fox Sports 1. They were 25-5 when they got their fifth loss. They're literally 1-5, losing 4 home games. It took them after Christmas to lose their 4th home game. This is horrendous. It's November 2nd. This is nuts to me, Cuzzo. What's wrong with the Rockets?
Well, last year, I believe, they only lost 7 home games, and I think they've already lost 3 or 4. So, yeah, something is just weird over there. And I think what we're starting to see, and we see it, like you can always learn the future from your history, from your past. And what we've noticed with this Rockets, they would go to the Western Conference Finals, and then the next year they would have a bad season. Then they acquired Chris Paul. Then they had a really good season. And now I almost feel like they're taking a step back because they've reached such a high peak. We talk about it in the NFL, Dave. After a team gets a really high win, the next game we usually bet against them. But in this case, it's almost like a season. Now, will they turn it around? Most likely, because they have veterans like Chris Paul and James Harden, especially if they acquire Jimmy Butler. But I think that's what we're starting to see early. They're coming off such a high season that now it's just kind of downfalling from here, where they took a little step back. But what's different and odd to me, you'd think they'd have a chip on their shoulder after losing a 7-game series to the Warriors, but instead it's almost like they're still caught up in that series and upset that they lost, and they don't have that chip on their shoulder anymore. They used to be a really good defensive team. Well, they at least improved in that department, and that's what made them a great team. But now losing those defensive pieces and acquiring Carmelo Anthony, who's not good for chemistry. He's not good for the locker room. He's not a three-point shooter. He's all about his shots and his ego. And on top of that, he's probably the worst wing defender in the league. It's almost like you added to the problem of this team and didn't make any progression going forward. And I know they're all about beating the Warriors, but you have to have defense. And they don't have defense, Dave. James Harden doesn't play defense. Chris Paul does, but he's getting older. Carmelo Anthony doesn't play any defense. And Clint Capella's expensive now. I think his ego's probably going up a tad. Do you agree with me? Am I wrong here?
Total agree, but I think you understated Carmelo Anthony as the worst wing defender. He's the worst wing defender, not this year, in the history of the sport. He's awful. He's disgraceful. Colin, my 6-year-old son, plays better D than him. Man up a little bit, Melo. Put a body on someone. He's awful. Chemistry bad. Defensive bad. They thought they should have won. I think they feel a little bit, down on themselves. I think it's a hangover. They haven't got over the Western Conference Finals yet. They need to make a drastic move now.
Are they the Falcons of the NBA?
Good call. Yes. Oh, I know my third point.
Okay, I told you, remember it.
My third point, the great debate of Max Van Auken on Locked In community page. Who will be the NBA Rookie of the Year?
There you go. Rashad Phillips, Yoda himself, called it. He's been calling it since day one. He loves Trae Young, Dave. And I think Trae Young has a great chance at winning it. I know you like Kevin Knox for your Knicks, but Trae Young has been on fire, and he's given these great opportunities because he's playing for the Hawks. It's right now not that it's a bad franchise, but this isn't a winning team, so they're all about developing and who they want to move on in the future. So Trae Young is the focal point of this team, and he's handled it well in a three-point shooting league, someone who could shoot. I don't want to say he's a poor man Steph Curry because he's young. I don't want to say that because it's almost derogatory, but he looks like a mirror image of Steph Curry, just super young. That's what he obviously reminds me of, and that's what he was projected to be in the draft. That's who he plays similarly like. I think Trae Young has the best shot at winning it. Am I wrong?
Max, if you won't say it, I will. He's a poor man Steph Curry, but that's amazing.
But he's young. He's young.
Huh?
He's young. I don't want to say poor man's because he's still he's a kid. This is his first year in the draft. So it's almost like I don't want to say that in a way because he hasn't developed. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so let me get locked in. He's a young man, Steph Curry.
There you go.
There we go. Hey, tomato, we get locked in. He could be the Rookie of the Year. Luka Doncic is being awesome. Doncic, right?
Yeah.
Dallas Mavericks.
Yep.
He's been awesome so far this year. Trae Young. A lot of Marvin Bagley's been good for Sacramento. He's part of that young nucleus, why they're winning games. But Trae Young is definitely the catalyst. He's the lead racehorse. He is right now the Rookie of the Year. Kevin Knox is coming back from an injury in a week or so. So let him play. It's a long season. It might even help him to kind of, rest your body at this beginning of the season. But Trae Young's playing great. Give Yoda some credit. Trae Young, Rookie of the Year. And Kozo, I don't know about you. I am ready to get locked in. I have one for the ages. But if you're ready, I'm ready.
I was going to say, how do you like Grayson Allen? That was one of our first podcasts ever available on all podcast platforms, guys. Locked In with 2 N's. Download and subscribe. Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher Radio. Dave the Wave went on record. I hate to call you out because I love you, but you said he wouldn't play an NBA minute. How do you like him? Have you switched over?
Grayson Allen, I'm at the Gatlinburg Convention Center. You come at me. I am 6'1", very good looking with great hair. You'll see me. Trust me. Come at me, Grayson Allen. He's still locked out.
Wow. Okay. On that note, let's get locked in, Dave. What's the locked in for the ages?
Okay. I love this. And for this whole podcast, over a year and a half, I've tried to be not as homerish, and I'm a Gator fan, Bill, Yankee, Knick fan. Everyone that knows me knows that. And I've always tried to keep a level playing field and not talk about my teams or the players or throw a weird, I think the Gators will win it all kind of a statement. But I kind of have something like it, and it's because I think I'm in it. I've been watching every Knick game so far this season. People are not paying attention to this guy. Tim Hardaway Jr. is locked in to be an NBA All-Star this year. He's had more than 25 points every game this season. He leads the team in points. He's a good rebounder this year. Tim Hardaway Jr. is locked in for the All-Star team. New York Knicks, Eastern Conference.
Nice. That's a good one. That really is. The East got a little more, little deeper though, Dave. Now that you have Kawhi Leonard over there, it's going to be tough. You have people like Ben Simmons, like Jason Tatum, who is they're debating whether or not they're an all-star, Dave. It's going to be tough.
All right, but you did lose the king, and Kevin Love won't be an all-star because the Cavs aren't good anymore. I think there's a couple open spots that you might not be thinking of.
Okay. All right, well, I'll go on record here. I was hinting at it. I didn't want to go all in yet because it was my locked in, but Trae Young will win the Rookie of the Year. That's locked in. I think he continues this all season, Dave. Like I said, I think he's the focal point of this Atlanta Hawks team. He's going to continue to shoot threes, facilitate. Trae Young will be the Rookie of the Year of the National Basketball Association. That is locked in.
All right, Cuzzo. Sounds good, man.
Do want a special announcement, guys. Island Fights, December 21st, Pensacola, Florida. We have Michael Davis, Beast Boy, contending on that card. Max Mustaki, Greg Hardy. And, guys, Dana White will be in the building. It's official. It's an announcement. Looking for a fight. Island Fights. Go to Ticketmaster. Get your tickets. Dave and I will be in the building getting locked in. And, Dave, to another great episode, great NBA talk. I miss you, man.
I miss you too, Cuzzo. I'll see you soon. But like always,
Stay locked in.